This is Nikki Collins.
Jordan Canada.
Essence Carson.
Liz Candace.
Imani Meaty Stafford. And you're listening to WNBA Weekly.
Hey there, WNBA Weekly fans. Another special episode. This time, we have A'ja Wilson on the phone. I was blessed enough to be able to talk to A'ja Wilson, obviously going into her sophomore year, coming off of an extremely strong rookie campaign, and already into what seems to be an extremely strong sophomore campaign. Great player, obvious star of the league, was an all-star last year, rookie of the year last year, etc., etc. So we're excited to have her on, so I'm going to throw it over to me on the phone with A'ja Wilson. Hey there, WNBA Weekly fans. We are so excited. We're bringing you special guest today. A'ja Wilson is joining me on the show. If you don't know who A'ja Wilson is, welcome to the WNBA. Obviously, this is your first day here. Big name in the league last year. The first selection by the Las Vegas Aces, first pick of the first round last year in the draft. Went on to play in the All-Star game, Rookie of the Year, averaged over 20 points per game. I could go on, but you don't want to hear from me anymore. You want to hear from A'ja. A'ja, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It is an honor. We're excited to have you on. As I just sort of went through, you had a lot of accomplishments last year. Obviously, a great intro to the league and a great start for you. I'm kind of curious, professional sports, you can't really ever sleep on it. You've always got to be improving your game. Over the last 12 months, between last season and now, what aspects of your game have you been working the most to improve?
Honestly, just trying to slow down. Just as little things. I don't think I can change up anything that different to my game. Of course, adding a 3-point shot is great. But yeah, of course that, but also just slowing down and mentally preparing myself for this upcoming season. But just trying to stay in the best shape that I can possible and keep working.
Awesome. I love it. You get to come into the Aces at a unique time. Obviously, you got drafted by them the same year that they established themselves in Las Vegas. Previously, they were the San Antonio Stars. Before that, the Utah Stars. Kind of an organization that's been looking for a home. And we've been really high on Las Vegas and especially MGM and the way that they've embraced a WNBA team. I'm just kind of curious, as a player coming into that organization, what's the reception that you've received from the people and the city and the organizations in Las Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, I couldn't ask for a better team, a better franchise to be with. MGM, they really look after us. They treat us like royalty. The fans, the city in itself just really surrounds us. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of home in South Carolina and how they really embraced us. So it's a great time to be in Vegas with the Knights and with us as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that's interesting is they're getting professional sports kind of, for the first time with the Knights coming in and the Raiders going to be moving down there. So it's a great time to be there. And also for WNBA fans, I know the hosts of our show are planning on going down in July for the All-Star game. I know a lot of our listeners are planning on going as well. Just kind of a personal question. If there's one restaurant that fans need to stop by before they leave Las Vegas after the All-Star game, where would that be?
I'm not sure. See, I just found this new soul food place from home, so it kind of reminds me a little bit of the South. Reminds me of home.
Okay.
So Soul Food Cafe is probably my biggest thing that I would go to. It's really good food, very down to South. Like if you love some good Southern cooked meal, there is the place. So yeah, I would have to say them.
Okay, fans, check it out. I know that there's a high probability the fans of this show would be. We've got some Texas and some Arkansas roots with the hosts of the show. So some appreciation for some Southern food here. A'ja, real quick, I want to run through some history, point out a pattern that I see. 2014, you are a member of the Heathwood Hall Highlanders, and you guys go to the state championship. During that game, you dropped 37 points and a clutch three-pointer, buzzer beater, which forced overtime. You guys ended up winning that game. Fast forward a couple years, 2017, you're going to the national championship with the South Carolina Gamecocks. You dropped 23 points, 10 rebounds, and what I think was a pivotal block and score. Towards the end of the game, the Bulldogs had pulled it within, I believe it was 4, and you had a block. You went to the other side, hit a little jumper, kind of changed the tone of the game. You guys went on 12-2 run to end up winning South Carolina's first national championship. So winning championships is in your DNA. You did it at high school. You did it at college. So my question is, what do you think the Las Vegas Aces need to do, whether it's this year or in the coming years, to bring the championship back to Vegas?
I think it's just really just like, mesh with each other. This is just year two of being in Vegas. And of course, we have great pieces to our puzzle, but I mean, it takes time. It took me 4 years in high school, and it took me about three years to win a national championship, even though I had conference championships. But in college, it just takes time to get to know each other and to get
Hmm.
to understand what coach wants from us. So, yeah, I think it's just going to take a little bit of time for us. But other than that, I think we're putting in the amount of work that we should be putting in. We're getting to know each other a lot quicker, considering we just got together last year pretty much. So, yeah, I think it's just in due time. Our time is going to come, but we really just have to stick with each other throughout the process.
Definitely love it. Team chemistry,
Yeah.
obviously so important. And that kind of leads into a question that I have sort of about team dynamics and about how the game plan changes. Obviously, one of the big offseason stories that the Aces had was last minute trade right before the season began. Ended up moving Liz Cambage from Dallas, where she was at, to Las Vegas. And so I'm just kind of curious in two different aspects. So how does having her on the court change your team's game plan? Obviously, she brings a presence that is unique, given her skill set. But also, how does it change yours? Knowing you've got help defending the rim, knowing that you've got some help on the scoring side, are there aspects of your game that are going to be able to come out because you've got her playing alongside you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, they can't really double team us. If they double team me, then we can go to Liz, or we can go with Kayla, or we can go with Kelsey Plum. We have so many
Hmm.
offensive threats on the offensive side that if they can't really double us because we have 3-point shooters, so they can't collapse on the inside because they can do things. So just the dynamic of our team setup is it's killer. It really is,
Hmm.
and it just helps with me because I've played with Elena Coates in college, like so I've always been used to having another big. So when you have someone like Carolyn Swords and Jisoo Park, we're like looking up to Carolyn Swords because like she's our vet, and she's just a great team leader that we need, and she's always in my ear. So to add Liz to that and to keep on meshing within our like forward and our center kind of click we have,
Hmm.
it's definitely something special because we can just play off of each other. It's times in games where I'm like, okay, Liz, if you get it up top, we can dive, or it's vice versa. So to have that conversation and just to play the game of basketball in that way, it's always a good feeling because you're not on train tracks.
Yeah, absolutely, and it looks that way. You guys have looked good this year. We were high on you guys coming into the season. We think you've got the talent to really put together a good season, especially coming off last year where. Not to bring up old wounds, you don't have to talk on this, but you were basically an airport debacle away from having a chance to be in the playoffs and to be able to make that run. Um,
Yeah.
and so, given that, you guys added a few pieces. I think I've seen some player development that we really like. It looks like you guys have the pieces to really put together a good run this year. Um, Quick question about kind of your experience with coaching. South Carolina, you got to work with Dawn Staley. She's obviously a
Yeah.
great women's basketball coach. We had her on the show last year. She's a great basketball mind, knows a ton about the game. And then now you're getting to work with Bill Lambier, another kind of legendary women's basketball coach. Um, what has your experience been working with coaches of that caliber? And then also, if you could sort of distill, like, what's the most important thing that you've learned from each of those two individuals?
Yeah, I think I've been blessed with just to be able to be coached by coaches that played the game and just understand their role as just a player, but also as a coach, and they can now relate to you as a player. Like, okay, for the day of training camp, your body's gonna be tired. Like little things like that that I can greatly appreciate from Coach Lambier. And I think the biggest thing that helps me out with Coach Lambier is like he played my position. So like, yes, Coach Staley, she's a great coach. Like, she's like my second mom. I love her to death. But she's a point guard. So like, even though she knew so much about the game, just now getting insight from a person that played my position just in the NBA level is a great thing. And I love just picking both of their minds. And I think in college, there's so many life lessons that you go through, and boys and just up and down. So I think the thing that I learned from Coach Staley is, be true to yourself, be who you are, and put your foot down in situations. And the thing with Coach Lambier is, he's like, Asia, don't overthink it. Like he just tells me like to really just calm down, and it's nothing about X's and O's, but it's just the simple little things of just it's okay if you mess up. You're not perfect. Just the little things like that to really keep me going. So I think Coach Lambert's really helped me in that way of just not overthinking, just going out there and play.
I love it. I love those answers,
Yeah.
and I love that insight into those two coaches. So to kind of finish things off, we appreciate you being on the show. Just kind of want to go over some rapid fire questions. Short answers. Just kind of want to hear where you land on some certain things. First one is, you've got the Aces. You guys obviously spend a lot of time together between practice and stuff. Who is the funniest person in the locker room?
Oh, Sydney Coulson. She is the funniest teammate.
Awesome. Honestly, every time we hear those answers, we're surprised, but I'm not as surprised by that one. That one kind of makes sense. So, okay, next one. You obviously have very strong Carolina roots, and we need to know for the sake of those who have never been there. Do you believe Bojangles is overrated, or does it live up to the hype?
Bojangles lives up to the hype. Oh my gosh. Just being out west, everyone's like raising canes, and I'm like, no. Bojangles, it's bow time. Bojangles lives up to the hype.
Awesome. So if you were to have an off day, I'm sure you don't ever actually get any of those with the way the WNBA season is, but if you were to have an off day and got to play a sport other than basketball, got to play a pickup game of something, what sport would that be?
Volleyball. Volleyball is my first love. I love volleyball. I would go back.
That's awesome. Okay. I know what your answer to this is, but I want to hear your reasoning for it. Which one is better, South Carolina or North Carolina, and why?
South Carolina, because you just get like the best of both worlds. Like you can go to the beach, or you could be in the city, or you can go to the country, and it's like always great food. In North Carolina, I mean, all you hear is like basketball, which is cool, like the little rivalry, Tobacco Road, that's cute. But there's nothing like a Clemson Carolina football rivalry. So yeah,
All right,
everything.
I love it. South Carolina's got dynamics. I like that take. Final question. I ask this to everyone that I interview. For whatever reason, I find it really interesting to hear people's answers. Imagine yourself at like a Denny's or an IHOP or a diner, something along those lines. You order the breakfast platter. They're getting you the bacon, the hash browns. The one question they're always going to ask, how do you like your eggs? Asia Wilson, to close out this interview, how do you like your eggs?
I'm probably pretty weird person, but I absolutely hate eggs. I do not eat it.
All right. No eggs for Asia Wilson. Asia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, thanks again to Asia Wilson. We loved having her on the show. Look forward to watching her career as it develops, and quite frankly, having her back on the show again. She was a wonderful interview. So, as always, go ahead and follow us at Twitter, or at WNBA Weekly on Twitter and Facebook. Subscribe to us on YouTube. You can get all of our episodes there. And the weekly episodes have video segments to them. They have some graphics on them. I think it's worth watching. You get to see some highlight stuff like that. Go over to youtube.com, WNBA Weekly for that. We've got a Patreon, patreon.com/WNBA Weekly. We've got a merch page, WNBAweekly.storenvy.com. There's lots of ways to support the show. There's lots of ways to follow and connect with us. So we would encourage you to do so. Until next time, I'm Jason Snow, and we've got you next week.